Welcome to Dare, the show for startup leaders, innovators, and entrepreneurs who dare to shape the future. Dare is brought to you by the Oregon Entrepreneurs Network, OEN, and Darwaf, the superpower tech team that can make your vision a reality. The Dare podcast is excited to welcome Doc Hudson to the show today. He's the founder and CEO of ODIN Materials that is pioneering advanced materials manufacturing with a specific focus on aerospace. Doc Hudson has a great background in the armed services. He was a combat engineer and he's done a lot of work at Boise State and has a passion for technology and invention. So welcome to the show, Doc.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, tell us how you came to found this company, ODIN Materials.
Definitely. I have a profound interest in aerospace, and I was kind of looking for ways to make it more efficient, which kind of led me down the materials path. And we bought a farm to grow industrial hemp, and that's kind of where we started. That was 4 years ago today.
Wow, 4 years. So you've been keeping a startup going for 4 years now. Do you have some customers? Do you have some revenue?
No, we're still pre-revenue. We're
Okay.
mainly focused on getting our IP figured out and the research and development side of things.
Got it. Got it. So, I mentioned in the intro that you have a passion for innovation. You've done some work at Boise State. Tell me about your background and what kind of got you into this field of new kinds of construction materials.
Definitely, yeah. I did attend Boise State briefly. I didn't finish out of
Hmm.
Boise State. I actually am self-taught in most of areas. The biggest thing that I kind of took away from all of it was CAD design, computer aided drafting, and that's kind of it. It's fueled my passion for developing the equipment for the materials for scaling commercial materials production.
Got it. So you really got into CAD design.
Definitely. I actually taught myself how to use CAD on my second deployment to Iraq in my dam.
Got it. Well, you're in good company. I mean, neither Edison or Nikola Tesla graduated from a university. They were mostly self taught. So you're in great company as a materials inventor. Both Tesla and Edison were famous for inventing not only materials, but also ways of using electricity. So I know you mentioned aerospace, you mentioned innovative materials. Tell us more about the kinds of materials that you're inventing and what you hope to have the output be.
Yeah, right now we're focused on making lumber, and that the goal of that is to get to structural materials that incorporate advanced materials like graphene or CNT, carbon nanotubes, just to kind of give them a better structure and strength. And then eventually, I'm hoping to get into the semiconductors and batteries utilizing those two materials as well.
Got it. Well, what makes your material or your potential material better than what's on the market today? Or why should people gravitate towards using your kinds of new innovative structures?
I believe it's a way for us to create another bridge between agriculture and innovation. Having a material that we can grow in crops during cycles or throughout crop rotations that helps their yields in other plants and it helps their fields overall. And then incorporating that into advanced materials for advanced technology, I think that's where we want to go with everything.
Got it. So are these materials more conductive or lighter? Or like I know just one example of a materials revolution that happened. There are actually two in this anecdote. One was the discovery that if you added additional elements to iron, you could create something stronger and more resilient, which we now call steel, right? And then another innovation happened when we found ways to actually smelt aluminum because aluminum used to be worth more than platinum and gold because it was incredibly hard to refine. And then we found ways of refining, especially with extreme heat, that we can now manufacture aluminum very easily. But, 300 years ago, 200 years ago, aluminum was worth more than platinum because it was so rare. Those kinds of materials now are part of our everyday lives. We use steel, we use aluminum, and we just take it for granted. I can have an aluminum can sitting there. So someday, 50, 100 years from now, do we think that your kind of Odin material will be that kind of material that's available everywhere?
Definitely, that's what we're hoping to achieve. I mean, there's so
Mhm.
many different uses for hemp on its own. We just want to kind of develop the ones that we can replace some of the harder to obtain ones, and then some of the ones that are more harsh on the environment and make it easier to obtain these materials. by increasing the way that they're manufactured.
Right, right. And so, what kind of infrastructure does your material need to be produced? And I'm calling it your material, but do you have a trade name for it or a type of description that I should be using?
Not currently. We just call it a dimensional hemp-based lumber. It looks like this. You can see
Hey,
that.
you got a sample right there. Great. Okay.
And that's just the stuff that we can make by hand. And
Mhm.
we're trying to make the equipment now to make it a mass producible type of thing.
Got it. Okay. And when you say aerospace, does that mean that this type of material that, like you held it up, it kind of looked like wood to me? Would
Mhm.
you actually use this kind of resilient material in planes or in large aerospace constructions?
Not this one specifically. That's something that we're hoping to develop later on down the line using this same formula. We're basically starting out with lumber because it's the weaker type
Hmm.
structural material. And then we're hoping to work towards a more steel type material that
Got it.
that would be lighter than aluminum.
Wow, that would be cool. So it'd be like steel, but lighter than aluminum, and would have versatile applications. You could apply it to numerous types of environments. Is this also, can it be a waterproof material? Can it be electrically conductive? Tell me more about it.
There are different ways that we can go about it to make it waterproof or electrically conductive. We just haven't researched those ways yet. We're trying to perfect this one before we move on.
Hmm. Yeah, so you're taking the slow and smart approach. I know one approach that we've seen that I think is now beginning to crash is the Tesla approach, which is build something super fast and kill people. But we're now beginning to see other manufacturers of EVs learn lessons from that model of building something that is in software and putting it into hardware. And so it sounds like you're going more carefully and building something that's sustainable for the long term. Is that fair?
Definitely, yeah. We're trying to build something that can last a long time and not, fail within a couple of decades or something. We want it to be beneficial and helpful and then long lasting.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So I know that you've been part of the Oregon startup community here, and you've been part of Oregon Entrepreneurs Network. That's one of our sponsors of this show. So thank you to Oregon Entrepreneurs Network. But you've also been recognized for your forward progression as a startup. So tell us more about what the startup community here has meant to you and what it's given you so far.
Definitely. When we first started out, we were actually recognized as one of the semifinalists for the ninth annual Startup of the Year summit
Wow.
that was put on by Established VC, and we went down to Tampa for that event. It was a good event. We didn't make it into the top five, but we did get recognized by our local newspaper, and they put us right on the front page. And
Wow.
that was pretty cool. And then just recently, we finished the Science Inc. Business Accelerator put on by the Innovation Space in Delaware. And I actually flew out there for their last day, the Science Inc. day. And that was a good event too. We learned quite a bit. And we're hoping to kind of bridge what we've learned there and what we've learned through OEN together and kind of get us forward.
Fantastic. So, what's the entrepreneurial community like here?
Where I'm at in Malheur County, it's not very big.
Mhm. So having a statewide network like the Oregon Entrepreneurs Network is very helpful. It pulls you into a larger community beyond where you're located.
It does, yes. And the rural innovation hubs, they've been helpful. And the business organ's been helpful too, our entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah. So tell me more about Business Oregon.
We've spoken with a couple of people from there, and they hooked us up with the regional innovation hub, and they're working to connect us with people that we need to speak to that are here locally. And they've been very helpful. It's been worthwhile connection.
Okay. So as you think about new materials, I'm curious, 50 years ago or so, some of these systems like CAD, for example, didn't really exist in today's forms. And so have you been able to take advantage of new developments in both online systems and in materials manufacturing to be able to accelerate your efforts?
To an extent, it's helped us with developing prototypes and the 3D printing, but a lot of what it takes to make these pieces of lumber, it's pretty simple. I mean, we
Mhm.
didn't even really need AutoCAD to make a press for it, but in order to scale it up and make it bigger, that's where it really came into to use.
Yeah. Why don't you walk us through your process? So first you grow the hemp, right? And then what happens? And
Um,
don't give me any proprietary special sauce, but you can tell me at a high level, right?
Definitely. Once the hemp is grown to its maturity, it gets cut down and left in the field for a
Hmm.
process called retting, and that's where it gets naturally broken down. The fibers are easier to break apart through decortication, and once it goes through the decortication process, that's when we can do our thing with it, mix it all up, and then put it into our press. Once it's out of the press, it just needs to dry and cure until it's a usable piece.
Got it. Okay. And then once it's usable, then you compress this into a one kind of structure because hemp grows as separate plants, right? So you're compressing them together.
Correct.
Yeah. So one thing that I've come across, and I don't know about as much about material science as you do, but I've been laminating some pieces together to build a boat. And it turns out, in reading up on lamination, that actually laminating pieces together it creates a stronger material than just one solid block. So is that the same principle that applies to your work here?
Yeah, that's kind of where we're going with it. We are mixing the two types of hemp fiber
Hmm.
to kind of make that a stronger connection between the longer pieces, your the slats basically. And though we're hoping that that fiber creates enough mesh to make it more of a biomimic product to where it looks.
Got it. Yeah. So your goal is to create something that mimics wood, but is, as you said, as strong as steel, maybe as light as aluminum, and feels like wood. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's what we feel.
So, do you have additional investors or additional people participating with you in this process of figuring out this kind of new revolutionary material?
Not currently funding everything myself right now. We've been making connections and working on that on fundraising. We have a couple advisors and people helping us out.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Cool. Well, one thing that's really fascinating about your startup too is that you're starting with the kind of raw product out there. You're actually taking organic products, some of which might be waste product in other environments, and you're creating something brand new out of it. So, how does your experience as a entrepreneur who's kind of close to the soil, really in real life, differ from someone who might be just, creating cloud-based software? I mean, the catchphrase right now is go out and touch grass, but you're probably doing that every day.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. We kind of just wanted to bridge that gap between technology and agriculture because I feel like those two industries can benefit substantially from it. Also, I feel like it is a good way for a lot of that waste product to not be waste anymore, to actually become some of value.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's another way that farmers, particularly in this area, they don't grow hemp because there's nowhere to take it to. There's no processing,
Hmm.
or they grow the CBD oil hemp and then they have nowhere to take their biomass. And this would be something for them to actually do that.
Oh, so this is actually taking biomass that otherwise would actually end up in a waste or landfill or just rotting.
Correct. Yeah. Through the natural retting process, most of the waste product goes back into the ground and then everything else we can use.
Yeah. What I find really fascinating about this too is when we think about petro based materials, meaning materials based on oil, that's just about every kind of plastic you can have, except for like corn based plastics. Every kind of plastic out there is petro based, which means that it's going to last for, in theory, hundreds of years, which really gums up our environment because it's not digestible by most things. It actually can be destructive to brain function. Petrochemicals in our environment is a ongoing concern. You're creating something out of hemp, which is a natural product, and out of bio waste. So if I built like a bunch of chairs out of your material in, let's say, 20 years, when you're a huge success and every chair in the world is built with ODIN materials, then what's going to happen if that chair breaks and I throw it out? Will that chair actually degrade, or will it be like a petrochemical and stay there for 1,000 years?
We believe that it'll degrade back into the ground, like because we're using the biomass and we're using
Mhm.
typically organic adhesives. We're not using petrol base, and you can even make plastic from hemp. So that's
Yeah,
another
so it can be a plastic that is based on hemp products, right?
correct.
Wow, so that's fantastic. So let's go over the benefits of this ODIN material. I'm just going to call it your ODIN material now. So it's strong as steel, hypothetically. It's as light as aluminum. It's bio-based, and so it's going to be able to degrade naturally into the environment, not like a petrochemical where it will be here as a forever chemical. And it's also making use bio waste that otherwise would be rotting in the field. And so you're using actual stuff that grows rather than oil extracted from the ground, and you're building something that has a multiplicity of uses, right?
Correct.
Wow, that's really fantastic. Yeah. Well, thanks, Doc. This is really, really interesting. So, I'd love to hear a little bit more about where you're going as a company. I know you're figuring out this material, the infrastructure. What else are you doing? Like, what have I not touched on, and what it's taking to build out your company and to get you on the road?
Well, starting from the ground up's pretty difficult. I mean, we're persevering, keep going. So that's basically all we can do, honestly.
Yeah. Well, are you hiring people? Are you consulting with other people, industry experts? Are you doing work to validate with customers? What kind of work are you doing there?
We have had some conversations with the Wood Innovation Center at Oregon State, and they agreed to help us out and test our wood products and stuff when we can produce enough for them to test it. And then we've also started to look for people to fill senior management positions, basically to get kind of some of the load of work off of me because it's basically all me right now. So if we can hire these people priority positions, then we'll also be able to set up lab access through a different partnership opportunity.
Great. Well, our last question, the one that we always wrap up with, is what do you dare to dream, Doc?
Yeah, I want to see, space. I want to see aerospace. I want to see that get bigger and I want to see it done the right way and efficiently.
Fantastic. Okay, well, we wish you all the best with your startup journey, Doc Hudson, and we look to see Odin Materials everywhere in the future. Really excited about your new product, your new material, and hopefully you can scale up and get this on the road into the market in the next year or two.
Absolutely. That's what we're hoping.
Okay, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Thanks to our guests today for their insights into the entrepreneurial ecosystem. We wish you all the best in your startup journey. The Dare Show is brought to you by the Oregon Entrepreneurs Network and by Darwaf, the superpower tech team that can make your vision a reality. Visit us at oen.org or at darwaf.io. Thanks again for listening. Till next time.